All right, welcome everyone. And today I want to say a big welcome to Marek. I'm going to introduce him a little before I ask him to speak. Now, Marek is a martial arts instructor, a holistic wellness guide, and he has studied martial arts since 2002. He's been teaching it since 2007 when he also discovered Tai Chi and Qigong and begun to explore the hidden powers over the years. He's super passionate about the work he does, where he guides his students in the physical, mental, and their emotional bodies through these practices, really tailored to their specific abilities and needs, and using these ancient practices to help improve physical mobility, mental sharpness, and emotional awareness. Welcome, Marek. Thanks for coming onto the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Yeah.
Now, I want to introduce and say, we probably have a similar passion about Qigong and about everything energy and how to cultivate it, how to perceive it. So just share a little bit about your journey with energy. Has it been ever since you've been doing martial arts or even before that? Like,
Even
what's
before
the
that.
relationship with energy?
Yeah, it was even before that. So I had gotten hold of a book called Celestine Prophecy, and when I was
Oh
21.
yeah.
You heard of that one? Okay.
I
So
have it. I have it on the bookshelves out there.
yeah. So that was point of my awakening. And up until then, I was like searching, looking. I was like, something's wrong with the world. I don't understand. People don't understand me. I don't understand people. Something they're not
Yeah.
seeing. Am I the only one seeing this? Am I, kind of like that. A lot of people have that kind of epiphany at some point. And so,
Yeah.
this, I get to chapter 3 and they talk about energy. I'm like, oh, this is what I was looking for, So I got super excited about that. And since then I was kind of on a quest of figuring out, like, how do I see the energy? How can I perceive it? How can I, like, where do people teach about this stuff? And I was,
Mm.
at that time, I come from Slovakia, and I spent basically most of my early part of my life there until 20 or so, and then I left to the UK.
Mm.
I lived in UK for a little while, so that's when I was reading that book, and then I was so curious about, like, the energy struggles, power struggles, about for the energy between in between the
Yeah.
relationships and all that kind of stuff, and it felt so intriguing. It was like, finally, I'm getting some answers here. and and then at that similar time, I was always curious about martial arts, but I haven't had an opportunity or chance to actually start doing martial arts as a
Yeah.
child, because in town where I grew up, there was no martial arts school, and the martial arts school that was further down, I couldn't easily get to or afford it. So I was like, okay,
Mm.
well, anyway. So then I got to the UK, and I joined a martial arts school there, which was capoeira at the time, which is a kind of a acrobatics
Mm. Yeah.
martial arts, and really fun. It's because it's based off of like a dance kind of thing. And
Yeah.
I enjoyed that, but it wasn't quite what I was looking for, even though it was a lot of fun. And then I came across Kung Fu when I came to States. Um,
Mm.
so I was my 25, I think about 25 or so when I came to States, and I've been here since. So it's that's when I started learning Kung Fu, and then as I was still exploring about energy and how that actually ties to the movement, and then what, like, where is the correlation. So I couldn't find really anyone who would explain that to me well, so I just, like,
Mm.
searching and kept searching. And then at some point I ended up doing a psychic mediumship work, as in, I had
Yeah.
no idea what I was going in for, but I enjoyed that. It was pretty fun. I did the first training, and it was 3 or 4 months training or something. And I felt
Mm.
like, okay, there's a lot of energy work here that we did that was fun, but still, how does
Mm.
it translate into the real life?
Yes.
I
Yeah.
want to I want to, like, embody the anything that's like, okay, if I can see energy somehow, if I can perceive it somehow, how can I make it be helpful for me? Like,
Yeah.
how does this really work?
100%.
So
That's hitting the nail on the head, because I mean, I've come from that world of seeing spirits, working with spirit guides and, all our beautiful allies in the light realms. But a lot of times people are skeptical to believe that they exist, number one. But number two, it's like, okay, so I'm getting all these psychic messages or impressions from the other dimensions, but what does that mean for us in real life? How does that help us in our
Right.
day to
Like, who
day?
is it?
So,
Right.
yes, exactly. So when you got exposed to the Celestine prophecy and trying to understand energy
Mhm.
before you found martial arts, like how were you trying to experience and cultivate perception and understanding of energy? Like, did you find any things to
Yeah.
help you with that?
Yeah. So the first thing that I found at that time was a Reiki school.
Oh
So I
yeah.
went into Reiki. I took the first level of level one Reiki, basically. And that was very interesting. And I enjoyed the teacher. At the same time, I felt like I didn't completely get it. Like I understood
Mm,
what she meant, but at times I felt a little lost about exactly how she meant it because, simply said, I was very much in my analytical mind. And as you know, you
yes.
cannot be an analytical mind when you're trying to explore things in a realm of energy and or you can't feel things, right?
Mm,
Because mind is preventing
mm,
that, right? So
yeah.
um, and later on, as I kept exploring about things, I began to understand that the overthinking of things is really what's
Mm,
halting that our ability to really perceive the energy, to feel it, just
yeah.
slowing down enough. And now that's what was more prominent in martial arts, because in martial arts you really have to focus unless you like break your bone and stuff if you do something wrong,
Yeah.
and so I had to like really calm myself down and really just like center, in order to actually do some of
Mm,
that stuff, some of the movement physically. And that's where I started to realize that in order for me to actually feel the energy flow within me, like I have power, like I have control, I have to like get
yeah.
quieter and still and
Yeah.
calmer and
Mm.
start to connect the
And I guess
dots.
that's what some of the qigong teaches, right? It's like the concentration that is required for you to be fully focused on a particular object of meditation, movement, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Like that's where the whole energy goes, where your attention goes, right? So if you're able to maintain that focus on precisely that thing, so number one is concentration. Maybe
Mm.
number two is then, okay, but where am I directing this energy? What do I actually want this energy to do? And that's probably where maybe the martial arts and the movements and where you're hitting someone or whatever, like
Yeah,
that's where it
yeah.
comes, right?
Exactly. Because you're channeling the energy and then you're directing it somewhere using your intent, obviously. So if you
Yeah.
have not clear enough image, then the strike or the movement that you're making is also not going to be good enough in some sense. Like it will be weak. So more power,
Mm,
more practice you gain in the energy sphere of your life. So the feeling, the energy, putting yourself in that state of feeling more often, more power from
mm,
inside out to develop. And that
yeah.
takes to the next thing is about martial arts. I'll mention real quick is that at the beginning I learned, obviously, most schools, I keep saying obviously, but it's not as obvious, but most of the times it happens
No.
that most schools teach the physical movements only. They don't teach you about
Yes.
energy work, most schools. And so,
Yes.
I kept looking for like school where I would learn something like that, and there wasn't any around until I started to
Mm,
explore into that energy world more. And then I
yes.
started finding teachers who are also martial artists and energy workers.
100%.
Yeah.
But even qigong, right? This word qigong and all that we might associate with that. So maybe
Yes.
many people know Tai Chi, right? Like I grew up, I mean, I'm Chinese in my heritage. So it's like, yeah, okay, we know qigong, we know Tai Chi, but actually we know nothing about it. But also that many many of the forms of qigong and Tai Chi that's around, I'm going to say most right now, they also do focus on the energy component of it.
Yeah.
So I've had some lovely and really powerful qigong practices in the past. I did a lot of animal forms, and yes, I would feel things. I definitely felt transformation in my life, in my physical body as well, and it brought up things. But
Mm,
I guess what I just noticed is it just wasn't the component that was focusing on perceiving the energy and what it was doing.
mhm.
And the same point also for other practices. So you said that you went to Reiki level 1. So I'm a Reiki master as well. And
Okay.
what happened is I actually studied Reiki with two different teachers.
Mm,
And the
great.
reason is because the first one I studied with didn't teach me anything about actually perceiving the energy. So I learned about obviously, where it came from and the history and,
Yes.
maybe hand placements and, actually practically doing it and
Yes.
trusting that something was happening.
Yes.
But what shifted my awareness was I received a distant Reiki session from someone else.
Mm,
And the insights that she was able to give me were so spot on. I was like, wait a second. I don't know how to do that in my Reiki. And number two, how the hell did she know that information? And so that opened my eyes to the possibility that energy is beyond time and space, number one.
yes.
And that's number two, like, surely I'm missing some skills. Like, is that the teacher? Is that, what I'm ready for? And so my point in sharing that was even though Reiki is an energy healing practice, amongst other things, I did not learn the energy component of it until my second training, where it was perceiving more of the psychic senses and, stuff like that. So I guess there's so many things that, energy is all around us, and yet nobody teaches us how to be aware of it and how to make sense of it all. Isn't that funny?
Yes. Yes, it is. And I feel like, it's almost like I mean, not a conspiracy theory, but it's almost like they don't want us to know that. Like somebody
Well,
doesn't want us to know. And,
well, there's
right.
probably a lot of truth to that. Because
Right. I
look,
mean,
look, whatever you've been doing or harnessing the qigong to manifest and to send your energy and intention to, it
mhm.
can really create the life you desire. It can create and allow us to be more in our power, right? And if we're more
Yes,
empowered, then the powers that be are not going to be very happy. So
exactly.
tell me a bit more about how you think energy work can help people to get to know themselves more. Like, how has that been for you? And how is it going to help people to get to know themselves?
Yeah, I mean, thank you. That great question. And I have obviously been on my own journey, and that's I'm my first student. I'm my first student. As I'm teaching classes in my school, I am the first student that checks things out and tests things out and finds the
Yeah.
results and decides like, okay, this works, this doesn't work. Let's change this, let's change that. So for me, it's been like the path that I've been on since reading the book, the Celestine Prophecy book, and finding out about energy and learning more about how it
Mm.
goes and what to do with it, I started to feel like you just said, this something beyond like the understanding that there is energy doesn't abide by space and time. It just is all the time everywhere. And our the normal being in our beta frequency is it's so in some sense underrated from perspective of energy. Like there's so much more to experience and so much more to learn when we approach life from that perspective. It's like the energy, or talking about frequency vibration, gives me a different perspective on things. So I start looking at, okay, so if someone I'm talking with and they are using primarily negative words, they're using like some sort of ideas that have to do with I don't have control over my life and I'm victim to my life, etc. I can feel my energies being dragged to there. I can feel that
Mm.
I can actually pull it back if I want to, or just give it to them. And I know now that
Wow.
giving it to them because they're being negative, because I'm empathic, if I give it to them, I will miss that energy. I will have given it to them. I know I can replenish it, but I know I will also feel this emptiness at that point that I will give it to.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
oftentimes what happens with that is that as I'm interacting with people is that some of the people are, and this happened earlier on more, this time not so much anymore, but that some of the people are so unaware that this is happening that they will, it's a power struggle, that they will like suction, want this energy from me or from anyone else around, because they don't know how to make their own one. And it's because they're not in touch with themselves. And so for me to just watch and perceive like how the dynamics in relationships work, how the dynamics between partners work, how the dynamics between the co-workers work, etc. I mean, this was like, I've been watching myself and how I behave with other people since I learned about energy, really, pretty much. And then doing this martial arts allows me to use this concept in actual physical way. So when you're talking with someone, it's more mental and it's also emotional in some sense, but it's not as much physical. And so when I'm doing this, when I'm feeling that my energy, and I know, like, you know, sometimes I feel more tired, I have less energy. Sometimes I feel a lot more powerful, and I feel you know, centered, etc. And I feel a lot of energy. And so it feels easier to do something physical, and then making that energy, whether it's lower or higher, making it manifest in my body, through my body, make the movement slower, make the movement faster. It gives me direct feedback on like, am I actually doing something energetically versus just physically tiring my body? You know, so there's a huge difference between, for instance, pushing on someone with muscle mass and then pushing at someone without muscle mass with just energy thought. Now, granted, you're still to someone, you're still using some muscle mass, but very little. And my students are always so surprised when I guide them through their structural components to release parts of their body completely and just feel this expansion, contraction of the breath as their energy builds up. And then I press on them and I can't push them anymore. And they're like so surprised that I can't push them.
Yeah. Well, it's a very physical and literal demonstration of perceiving energy, right? Because it's this invisible thing around us, but it's not invisible. It's felt, you know, so you can't deny the feelings you have when you're around someone. But again, if you cultivate that awareness, and then I think because you have the system like Kung Fu or martial arts, where literally someone can experience, oh, that was difficult or that was effortless. It gives us a very lived experience of understanding the laws of the universe and the laws of energy, doesn't it?
Yeah. Exactly. It's a direct feedback. It's like right there in front of you. You know, when you are, like I said, when you're interacting with someone who is, let's say, insensitive, they're not sensitized to energy. Some of my students will, you know, come fresh to the Tai Chi class. They say, I've never tried this. I don't know why I'm here necessarily, but I wanted to try it. Okay. So sometimes, you know, people like that are in some sense good, as well as good in sense of like, it's nice to have open mind. At the same time, they a lot of times have no idea how to open up. You know, they don't know how to open their heart. They're like, what are you talking about? Open the heart. It's like go inside and open it. What do you mean? You know? And I know that because...
But isn't it fascinating how far we've come? Because I'm sure that before we read the Celestine Prophecy, or before in my past life when I used to work in corporate, I would be looking at you like, what do you mean? Like,
same way,
you know,
right? Exactly.
Connect to the guides. What do you mean? Connect to my whatever.
Exactly. Very, very good point. Exactly. I was just going to say that I would have done that same, I would have had the same response, you know, because I remember myself when somebody said, open your mind. I'm like, and how exactly do I do that?
Yeah.
You know, like,
so the other day, exactly. But you know, the thing I tell some newbies and beginners is, even if you don't think you know how, just even at the beginning, you're going to visualize and imagine and intend until that pathway, which may be new for you, will be more open, will be more walked on, right? Because whatever number of years ago, it may have meant nothing for us. But now, just snapping our fingers and we say, okay, let's tune into the whatever astral field. Let's tune into how do we perceive the energy around us.
Yep.
It's like just turning a knob on a
Yep.
radio frequency, a radio dial, and saying,
Yep.
oh yeah, we can perceive things
Exactly.
that are not
Exactly.
obvious.
Yep.
Yeah.
One of the things about that is like when you're doing any practice, whether it's just sitting and playing with energy, or whether you're using it in martial arts, whether you are, I don't know, are driving or doing whatever you're doing during the day. One of the things is that you can literally make, once you feel something, so slowing down the breath enough so you can actually start feeling and perceiving things. But once you feel it, then you record that feeling. And you probably have learned this similar way or same way maybe. And once you recorded that feeling that you'd had before, you just go back to that feeling. You just recall it over and over. And now you've created neural pathways. And now, like you said, it's a turn of a knob or flip of a switch.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the inventory of feelings that I have to refer to since I was immersed in this very intense Qigong training,
Mm-hmm.
like I was like inundated with energies, for 21 days straight, I say. And it's like, it's amazing, but everyone needs to do their practice. Everyone needs to do their own practice of connecting for themselves. Okay, how do I replicate? How do I bring that feeling back? Okay,
Mm-hmm.
what are the resistances in myself that bring me out of concentration? Like one of the main things for me sometimes at beginning, it was the physical body. I just couldn't actually sit for that long of a time.
Oh,
And
yes.
then later it was like, oh, you start thinking about what am I going to have for breakfast? What am I going to do
Yes.
today? And that would also
Yep.
take me out of concentration. So this practice, in whatever way we choose to express it, for you, maybe it's martial arts, for me, maybe it's healing and teaching work.
Mm-hmm.
We really need to have that dedication to knowing why we do this
Mm-hmm.
and why it's important, like that whole alignment to ourselves. So, has this helped you to come more aligned on your path of expression, on your path, on your purpose path? How has it helped you to really know what you're here to do in this lifetime?
Yes. The answer is absolutely yes. And if you've known me, before, as in even several years ago, there was a lot more timidness in me, and I would be like not wanting to talk to people most of the time. And
Mm,
and then when I talk to people, I wanted to make myself look good because I thought that
mm,
I wasn't good enough. So at this point, I've done a lot of work with my own psyche, with the inner child, with shadows, and whatever you refer to as well. That where you just learn about yourself. Where I'm just starting to accepting myself is like the biggest gift, and to
mm,
have this to lead me from this. I'm not aware of like my being completely. Like I was aware, like I could tell, I understood certain things, certain ways. I didn't practice a lot of things for a long time. I was aware, I was learning things, but I didn't practice anything. And so as soon as I
mm.
started practicing, I started to
Yeah.
transform. Yeah, the practice is basically the actual tool to transform. And so my transformation came
Yeah.
from growing up as somebody who was in victim mentality most of his life, and
Mm,
who was always looking at the world through lack and like
mm,
misfortune or whatever else, because that was the default in which I grew up, and
mm,
or my being has grown up. And so as I'm learning through the energy, and allows me to, I get further insights as I raise my energy. I get
mm,
further insight and further insights and further insights, and so basically it's like growing. And so every time I learn about something, of course, the search or seeker in me wants to test it out. Does that really work?
yeah.
And so
Yeah.
as I learn it, as I test it out, I'm transforming myself. So I literally have changed my identity. When I went back home after several years and met with some of my um, classmates from old school, and I was thinking to myself, they are still exactly the same. They have not changed for 25 years, and I'm looking at myself that I was similar to how they are.
Mm,
And then
Yeah.
for me, it was like, oh my God, I did so much work. So
Yeah.
constant transformation is really the thing. And so my goals around where is this taking me? I mean, I think essentially a transcendence to just beingness, and whether I'm in a physical body or not doesn't necessarily make difference. So, and then while I am
Mhm.
in a physical body, it's gonna be I'm gonna be doing my best to continue to learn and share my knowledge, what I learn, with other people.
Yeah. Well, look, I definitely have that same curiosity in me. Like I identify my archetypal me and even, my ideal client. It's the seeker, right? The truth seeker, the soul seeker,
Yeah.
whatever seeking. I've traveled the world. Like when I used to work in corporate, because I worked for an airline, I literally traveled the world. And I think that was a very physical way for me to express this desire to learn and really weave in and really receive lots of information, different energies in different places, and things that you're imprinting on your consciousness because you have a desire.
Mm.
Now, that being said, one of the things that I very strongly, vividly remember from Sifu and from, teacher is he says, you are choosing the rate of your transformation.
Mm.
You choose how quickly you actually want to evolve and grow.
Mm.
And so if we are comfortable in our environment and we're fine sitting in our mess, side note, probably people don't even know that they're in a mess.
Yes.
If you're fine in it, then you don't have to. This is not for everyone. And so
Yes.
I really like bringing that to the forefront to let people know you're completely in control of how fast you want to change and transform, but not only that, but to evolve, right?
Mm-hmm.
The direction of the change has to be, up, or ascension, if you like that word, but it's to evolve. And evolve implies that there's a betterment in yourself and a betterment for the energy around you.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I said, like, for you to have the concentration, the discipline in what you
Mm.
do, it's like
Very
you
much
have
so.
to be committed to it. Yeah.
Yes.
Otherwise,
Commitment.
it's
Absolutely.
not for. Mm. So let's talk about, commitment. So what's your daily practice look like? Like, how does it look an average day of doing your practices and weaving that into your everyday?
Yes. Now, before I share some of the pieces that I practice, I will say some tools I use every day, some tools I don't, and
Mm.
um, tools meaning, for instance, whether it's a Tai Chi practice, Qigong practice, journaling, whether it's listening to a book or reading a book or learning from a video or going to a workshop, those are all tools to me. So some of the tools obviously are breath work or meditation, etc. Some of the
Yeah.
tools I use daily and or couple times, 3 times a day, and some days, some of the tools I won't use. So kind of looking at it from perspective of what do I feel like. So one of my things that I've been paying attention a lot more to within the last a little over 2 years specifically, it has been authenticity. And just being
Mm.
authentic means that my naturally, for instance, if I'm starting to feel like my energy is dropping, I would want to stay positive to overwrite that negativity.
Mm.
But then, I thought to myself, I'm actually acting out of fear that somehow that negativity is going to take over me. So I
Yeah.
actually have control over that. Never mind then, so just retraining the mind processes constantly. And so typically how my day starts is I wake up, I uh, whatever is I take a shower, whatever, and then go to meditation. Sometimes I just do meditation right away. Kind of depends on the day. And night before that, I set my intentions into before I go to sleep as to like what I'm still working on, and where I want to go or what interests me, and then show me how this best applies in my life. Okay, so asking kind of a meditation, kind of a prayer. So setting the intent to guide me through, and then in the morning I sometimes when I write it down, I'll reread it to remind myself if I don't remember. If I remember, I'll
Yeah.
just go straight into meditation and just allow whatever is happening. So that will be the first thing, other than, like I said, the showering or whatever else. Then making sure that I get some, obviously, food, etc., to make sure I can last through the classes that I teach pretty much almost every day. So I have a couple of days off mornings, but other than that, I teach almost all the time. So, and then go and teaching, and then when I, before I go to class, I use my own energy. I take a moment, I expand the light into the room where I'm gonna be.
Yeah.
So sending the light energy through, and then every person that's coming through, internally, I will say thank you for coming in to be here and sharing this. And then just as the class starts, we bow to each other and I say thank you for being here every time. So that's just to my acknowledgement of gratitude, to continue to lifting my and their energy, because gratitude is one of the spaces that I feel is super important to just throw out there.
Yeah.
And as the day goes on, make sure that I'm plenty sustained, so have good enough food or whatever, and I make sure to eat lighter foods. Again, this is something that everybody has to do their homework about, is whatever blood type you have, whatever body physiology, whatever habits you have from childhood about eating, etc., and find whatever works best for you is the right nutrients that the body needs. And just to make sure, again, I eat because, sure, I can enjoy the food, but I eat because mostly is because it sustains me.
Yeah.
So maybe it will
I
change
mean,
one
I
day.
do love food. I really enjoy like sometimes, when it is just, oh, it's just food, but again, listening to the body. Sometimes I'm in the grocery store, and I'm literally standing in front of the veggies. No, don't want that. No. It's like the body's actually telling me what I want to
and
eat and
that's
what I don't want to eat.
and that's perfect. Again, we are also different and also unique. When I'm teaching my classes, it's the same thing. When students ask me exactly like, how do you do this? How do you do that? I can never give the same answer to two people. It's going to be similar in some sense, but always it's going to be something different than one person catches from whatever I'm saying than the other person. So watching for that, and that's like a big part of my teachings, is that I try to approach as many students as there may be in a class. I try to approach them as individuals, because everybody needs something slightly different. And that was something that,
100%. And
yeah,
we're all
that was something I
unique.
was totally missing from my life, when I was growing up, and it was cookie cutter. Back in Slovakia at that time when I was growing up, it was socialism. And so very boxed like mentality, and just, this is, you stand in line, this is what you do, this is what you don't do. And I
Yeah.
was like, I don't like that. So
Well, it's
yeah,
an excellent point. Like, so my cultural background is Chinese, so my parents would have grown up in communism. Yeah.
exactly.
And in the exploration of getting to know myself and all the patterns of energies that are present, there's a lot of that's so embedded in our
Yes,
genetic DNA
exactly.
as well as our spiritual lineage, but we'll get to that. But even from our childhood and the conditions and the energetic patterns that are there, it 100% affects the belief systems and our ways of moving, expressing, duplicating that energy without even knowing it. And so a lot of the limiting beliefs of how they also saw abundance or needing to work hard or what kind of things to be valuable and worthy in society. So, making that shift to this kind of work. And I left my beautiful, lush corporate career and doing this. Like, there was a few years where I think my dad had, oh, bless him, he had the funniest question. He's like, so what exactly do you do? And it's just fascinating to see things not really landing for them in a way that makes sense, because all the sense that they know is you do this, you should have this result. You study, you go to school, you have a good job, you should get married, then you have kids, and it's like this cookie cutter.
It's old script,
Yeah.
I call it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So tell us, so for you, you said that in doing your practices and training in the last years, it's been a way to explore yourself. So all of these revelations about your own patterns and things that you are reconditioning. Now,
Mm-hmm.
would you say it is simply by doing the Qigong and martial arts, did it come to you as insights? Like, how do you personally receive the insights that then guide you into this transformation? How do you receive the insights and information to help you to transform?
I would give it a name of channeling. I think that's I feel that it's a word that best describes what I'm feeling about this is that I know that when my energy is lower and I act from my intellect only, I'm not as smart.
Yeah.
It's like I can't come up with almost anything that's worthy of just I like scratch my head. It's like, well, does it even make sense? So I know that when I'm
Yeah.
connected, when my energy is high, and I'm at that point I'm channeling. So I would say channeling, really, pretty much. That
Excellent.
yeah,
Yeah.
that I feel sometimes I feel um it's hard to say how to. So sometimes I'll get image, like a picture in my mind to do
Mm.
something or not do something, or
Yeah.
or I get words. Sometimes I see a literal word, or I just
Mhm.
feel like, you know what, this feels right, this does not feel right. So channeled,
Yeah.
let's say.
Yeah, beautiful. And we're going to do a practice right together on that. So I guess before we do that, the receiving of information also for me has been really interesting to understand. It's like, how do we actually get information?
Yeah.
And sharing with people that everybody has the ability to do it. Everybody has the ability to receive. They're just not shown how to do it because, we don't learn about that in mainstream school.
Yeah.
So was it difficult for you to learn to open to these senses when you started to become more aware to them?
Yes. Hard yes. Super difficult.
Yeah, yeah, good.
Because being so analytical and intellectual with it, because in my previous world, obviously, it was more of that. What counts is as something that's tangible, something that's realistic. Anything else doesn't count. If it's air, if it's
Yeah,
energy, if it's not tangible, it doesn't count. And so, like, well,
yeah,
how it can that be? I mean, that doesn't make
yeah,
sense.
yeah, yeah.
Also, at the same time, that's how it's functioning. So, one of the things that I did 3-4 years ago, was it now? I went to this place called VibraVision. I don't know if you've heard of that before or not.
Mm,
VibraVision is a company. It's a place in Utah, US,
mm,
Ogden, Utah, in US, where there's a couple of brothers who had learned practices in Indonesia that are not
mm,
shown to Westerners, and they learned some of them
mm.
as Westerners there years ago. And now they've been teaching
Yeah.
these practices, and it's basically one of the things that they teach is to learn how to see blindfolded. So you
Oh,
get
yeah,
blindfolds on,
amazing.
you get
Yeah.
blindfolds on, and now you're supposed to see stuff. But of course, your mind is
Mm,
telling you you can't see anything.
mm,
But they
mm,
teach you that you go to your heart, you connect, you trust, you
mm,
let go.
mm.
And being in that state, they guide you. It's longer than what I just described, but that's the basis of it.
Yes, of course.
And you get into that state. And when you're in that state, you just know. You don't know how you know, you just know. And so there was
Mm,
one of the practices I have a video of this, quite fascinating, is that we practice in a pair. And the person is standing across from me, and they have this, when we were practicing, was this yellow bean bag, and they can put the yellow bean
mm,
bag anywhere in this location, like here or
mm.
here or here
Yeah.
or here. And I'm supposed to, with my blindfolds on, I'm supposed to scan that space. I can't see absolutely anything. These blindfolds are like so
Mm,
strong. Anyway, so I'm like supposed to be scanning,
mm,
but not with my eyes, obviously, because they're closed and blindfolded, but with my third eye. So
mm-hmm.
going into your third eye, you can see everything around, basically 360.
Yeah.
right? And so with that third eye seeing and with feeling the space within you from your heart, I was able
Yeah.
to pinpoint exactly where this bag is.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I
Incredible.
wasn't wrong for 7 times in a row.
Yeah. Incredible, isn't it?
I only made mistake when I started to think, I wonder if I can like feel from my palm where it is. And that's when I made mistake because
Mm.
I started thinking.
Mm.
Isn't that
Yeah. Yeah,
fascinating?
it's super incredible. And clear cognizance or knowing is I think it's kind of my most obvious sense. And
Right.
because that was my access sense, my first sense that was most obvious, I actually had a lot of doubt in the beginning. It's like, how can
Mm,
that be true? How do I know that? Like I can look at someone and yeah, exactly. And I can look at someone and just get information about you
mhm.
without knowing you, right? Like I used to love people watching because literally I would just look at someone and kind of tell you what they're feeling, what their energy is like. But this is way before I did any energy training.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Now I actually like, no, I have to actually not be looking at everything because it's energy and information overload, but
Yes.
it becomes very powerful as a tool to use on your everyday to know when to trust people, how to know if a business deal is a good one, when you should do something like that. Trust in yourself and what you're most guided to do for your highest good, like it becomes a lot more powerful.
Absolutely.
um yeah, so I guess just to support what you're saying, it was a hard, yes, it was difficult,
Yes.
to really
Super hard.
trust ourselves.
Yes. Super
Yeah.
hard. Yeah. 4 years.
Okay, so yeah, exactly. Well, I'm still learning. I'm still opening my
Yes.
senses as well to the
It is
next
easier
level of
though, but it is
perception.
still definitely learning. Yeah.
I'm still learning. So I'm
Yes.
still learning to sense and see energies behind me. It's not
Uh-huh.
as clear as what's in front of me.
Okay.
And when I was doing some of these practices recently, I realized that, even in my egg shape aura, in my bubble, I can feel a lot more of it in front of me, but it's
Yes.
not as filled out in the back. It's not as filled out in the back. And it's like, oh, it's almost, again, my own patterns of, oh, it's not safe to go behind or somebody's
Mm-hmm.
gonna, I don't know. So it's like some patterns still to change our linear thinking of, yes, we can see with the eyes in the back of our head,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Uh-huh. And you know what? May I add something real quick to that?
Please.
Is that because we have the eyes to confirm our reality in front, we don't have the eyes at the back of the head. So whatever is behind us is a lot more um hazy in some sense, or like we don't trust that we can see backwards. And the funny thing
Mm,
about that is that when I was at this vibrovision place and I did not have eyes, I had to learn to look all around. And when they
mm,
put us later on, when they put us into an obstacle course with blindfolds on, that was a
yeah.
whole other thing. You really needs to have your eyes
Wow.
behind you. And so
Yeah,
what
it's
you do,
incredible.
it is so much fun. It's what would you do? You extend your awareness backwards, and you probably already know that as you're practicing this stuff. So you just extend the
Mm,
awareness backwards, and as you said, it's more difficult, specifically for us, the analyzers, and because the
mm,
eyes are in front, and that's the analyzing tool that we used to use. If we had eye or eyes at the back of our head, we wouldn't question that, but we do because we
yeah.
don't have eyes at the back. So it's just
Yeah.
relearning the pattern of it's okay
Yeah.
not to have eyes at the back and you can still see.
Yeah, exactly. It makes me think of, I don't know if you've watched these cheesy Chinese and kung fu movies where they blindfold you and you've got a sword and you got to like
Yep.
hit that little round thing that's like impossible to get.
Yeah.
Like that kind of sensing, isn't it?
Yeah. Absolutely. When we do there's a practice in Wing Chun Kung Fu called Qitao, and it's basically translates loosely as sticky hands, as in you touch
Mm,
hands
hmm.
basically and then you move around just sensing the other person's pressure and energy, and you are blindfolded. You
Yeah.
can be with your eyes
Mm,
open, but doing it with your eyes closed basically sensitize you to what you're supposed to be
mm,
doing or feeling. And then you also learn
yeah.
it with your eyes open and or closed, either way. But that's also,
Yeah. Well, I'll
you
have to get more of these tips from you to how to extend my eyes. All
yeah.
right, so let's do a little fun thing. So maybe we'll start with, okay, is there a topic? Is there an intention that you'd like to get more insights about? So you can even use the one that, you might have written in your journal before sleep. So if you want to share, you're welcome to. If not, you can just keep that in mind. And then what I'll do is I'll just channel some sounds. And I'd love for you to just open your senses, your third eye or your heart,
Mm-hmm.
to receive a message and however you express it or however you receive it. And then, yeah, like feedback and just, yeah, see how that goes for you. Would you be open to
Okay.
that?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. I'm trying to decide if I'm gonna share something or not. So yeah, sure. Let's do this. Let's so I one of the practices that I'm journaling about is identifying all of my subconscious limiting beliefs. And
Oh,
so
that's a big one. All?
all of them, yes, I want them all out. So and I've identified quite a few. So I'll open myself to finding anything else that's more prominent that I need to get to next. And
Okay.
not saying to get rid of, but to get
Be
to
aware of.
understand it, to be aware of it, to work with it, kind of thing. So
Beautiful. Perfect. So you hold that in your sphere of awareness.
yep.
I will just grab the crystal that feels like it wants to come in. I'll show you after. And so I'm just informing and allowing my guides to show up, the ones that need to. And we'll just see what energy comes through. And so just parking your conscious mind to the side, because probably you'll be thinking, what kind of weird sounds is Katara making? So you're welcome to keep your eyes open, but if you want to just drop in and feel, that's also really good.
I will do that.
And we ask that the guides bring through messages that are relevant for Marek, but also for anyone who's listening, because obviously there's, law of resonance and things going on, and there must be gifts for all and in this information. And just allowing the sounds to speak to whatever level it needs to. Oh, ti ya sa. Oh, ti yu kiriyasu. More, more, more. Moru, moru. Moru, moru, aso, yati. Yati, yati, you. Saru, siu, me, yasu. Hario, sare, hario, sare. Yamutu sita he lati yu he yahu sute. Sute yahu ita sukiru. Hare just allowing all the levels of your being to wrap all that energy around, and it will unfold in time as it needs to. Whenever you're ready to allow your eyes to open into more presence.
That was
How was
cool.
that for you?
Hmm.
What
I got
happened?
goosebumps for about 2 minutes straight at the beginning. So that was great. Definitely felt the energy shifting. So it hit my heart most, I would say. The pressure that I felt most was right around my heart. So that's always a good affirmative sign for me to trust that whatever I'm receiving is what I'm needing.
Mm,
um,
yeah.
one of the things I think that I'm piecing together as we speak right now a little bit that I felt is um, judgment piece. This
Mm,
that was a lot of that came from a default in my family and the karma
mm,
basically, and limiting belief. I think around the fact that I don't know that I can escape that one kind of thing. And as I felt the
mm,
heart opening, or that I can get out of that one. So as I feel the heart opening and I feel a possibility. So
mm.
for what's it
Yeah,
worth.
it was very. I've never made sounds like that before. I have to say. I know that I say each time I make different sounds, and I do,
Uh-huh.
but that kind of I don't even know what you call it, but that undulation and those specific, I've never made those sounds. So I'm just like, okay, I don't know, what
It's so
exactly this
cool.
is.
It's so cool. I love um the voice that your voice is beautiful. A. B, the notes that are coming out that were coming out at this time were just so randomized and connected, succinct, well, that it was like,
Yeah.
wow. I think that's one of the reasons why I felt the goosebumps is because I was truly feeling like I'm appreciating this from a musical standpoint, being a musician myself, as well as from like how the energy is
Oh,
moving,
yeah.
you
Oh,
know?
that's very fascinating. Oh, I'd love to hear more about that. Like, because I'm so not musical, I don't know how
Okay.
to read music. I don't understand music, like even how it goes. Like, how does that, I don't even know how that all works. So how does it feel from, or what's your
Musician
reflection
perspective.
from a musical standpoint? Like how things were pieced together in the melody. How does that feel?
So typically, at least let me say it this way. So like jazz music doesn't have much of a repetition in it. It's constant circular kind of a rhythm, right? There's no
Mm.
three times this or four times this and two times that. There's
Yeah.
no pattern. Like what you did, basically, there is no pattern. So I would ascribe it more of like a jazzy kind of thing. At the same time,
Mm.
it's not, because one other thing about that, and I love jazz just so, and so one other thing around that is that in jazz the notes are so erratic, and
Mm.
they all make sense together. And
Mm.
this was in some sense different sense, some sense it was similar to that. So
Mm.
my soul is actually like appreciating this truly. It's, I don't know, because like where was that coming from? And some of the words that you used sounded like words from my native language.
Yeah, I'll come to that and I'll speak about that after you finish.
So yeah, so regarding the sounds and the music and how it connects, I mean,
Mm.
I you're using the half notes, the full notes, in such a random way, and they still connecting just makes a beautiful melody out of that. That's
Mm.
that's so cool.
I don't even know what a half note is.
Oh.
That's why, that's interesting to have come like, so this is my expression of the light when I feel the
Yeah.
light imprinting and streaming.
Yeah.
Right now, my expression is on using the hands, in a way that you were reading where the beanbag was. When I move my hands, it's like I'm moving through the dimensions and actually sensing and receiving information, translate it through the medium, which is right now just my vocal cords.
Mm-hmm.
And so you said about the sounds sounding like your native language. So I'm sure that each of us perceiving how energy comes through, what happens is everybody will get the information they need up to or at the level they need to receive and to their resonance, right? So for you, you resonated and connected with it being like the native sounds of your language. And
Mm-hmm.
because I didn't know those sounds, right?
Mm-hmm.
What I was getting as I was doing the sounds, I very much felt the heart. I felt it had to do with the energy of, I guess, I wouldn't use the word karmic, but kind of ancestral. So where
Mm-hmm.
you come from.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so like kind of family, but not. It was more ancestral, is the word that I was getting. And it was about inviting more softness, more acceptance. It was like a little lullaby, like telling you
Mm-hmm.
everything is fine,
Mm-hmm.
and also that there's beauty even in the shadows, right? Even in the thing that, yes, it was a limiting thing, whatever it is, a limiting energy.
Mm-hmm.
The wound is where the light enters, right? Rumi. It's like the wound of whatever that condition or pattern is relating to your childhood and your ancestry is going to turn into your gift. And
Mm-hmm.
so
Right.
whatever that energy was doing, like that was what it was kind of feeling. It was feeling like returning to that innocence and cradling of that innocence of the purity of that energy, because nothing is good or bad, it's just related and
Right.
relative to each other, and to really transform and evolve the shadow pieces into your gifts. That's what I was getting in that transition.
Fascinating. That's awesome. That's
Yeah.
very cool. Yeah. Yeah. At one point, the
Yes.
words meant. So at one point, that words meant I am, you are, and then later on, there was the word we are.
Yeah.
To
Yeah.
me, to
Beautiful.
me, that was just connecting there's no difference between all those. It's just
Yeah.
all one.
Yeah.
That was the
Yeah.
message of
We all.
that. So it's like don't try to separate anything, just accept things
Mm,
as they are,
mm.
whole.
Yeah. And look, this is a message for everyone as well, right? We are all unique, but we're all holding individual pieces, and yet we are all same, different reflections, expressions of the light.
Mhm.
Thank you for receiving that and my expression and sharing your story. Like, I think the purpose of sharing our stories as well is to let everyone know that, yes, we change and we go through the difficult things and how to evolve, and that we each have our own path. You know, nothing's going to look the same for anyone, is it?
Yes, very much so.
Anything else you want to share to the listeners or to your audience before we sign off? Any pearls of wisdom you want to give people?
Um, being authentic, really. I mean, for me, it comes down to a lot of that. Just allowing yourself, when you struggle, because struggles are gonna come. And so when you struggle, just
Yeah.
know that it's just a part of where you are at this point. Allow it to be what it is. If it's messy, allow it to be messy. Don't make it worse. Like don't put, kerosene on top of in a fire, but
Mm,
feel what you feel, allow it to be there. It will dissipate at some point, and celebrate
yeah.
celebrate
Celebrate.
your being here. Just every day, there's something that's special in some sense, or just make it special, whatever it is, and
Yeah,
find
totally.
authentic expression in that. So that's
Yeah,
about.
I love it. So good. Well, thank you, Marek, for being on the show. I'm going to include all of Marek's links in the show notes. So you can where you can find him on YouTube and all the social media and learn about his practices. I think especially if you are into martial arts or Tai Chi, like bringing this dimension of energy cultivation is just going to amplify your practice and help you align to who you are. So I'm going to share all of that. And it was such a pleasure to speak with you and to share our stories. Hopefully, I'll see you again here because I think we'll
Absolutely.
have more to explore.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much,
All
Katara. Really
right.
take your time.
Thank you. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, take care.